2023 was a disastrous year for movie studios across the board because out of all the movies that cost over $200 million to make, only one of them was able to make its money back at the box office, and that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And even then, the success of that was pretty marginal and it underperformed compared to the previous movie in the franchise. And then after the failure that was the Marvels, Disney is starting to learn that they need to actually reduce the budget on upcoming projects. But for that, I'll believe it when I see it. As far as other studios go, it looks like they haven't learned the lesson yet because we got news this last week of a couple movies that are set to come out later this year. And the budgets for those are just so ridiculous. I don't even know what they're thinking or how they plan on actually making their money back. For the first movie I'm talking about, it's a new Gladiator movie from Ridley Scott, and the budget for that was initially reported to be $165 million, but this last week it came out that it's gotten out of control and now it's over $300 million. With the production journey fraught with challenges including on-set accidents, allegations of animal abuse, and a budget that has reportedly doubled, the anticipation for Gladiator 2 is matched only by the concerns surrounding its making. And I'm almost getting a sense of deja vu with this because last year, Ridley Scott also spent a huge amount on a historical epic that failed to make its money back at the box office. And that was Napoleon, which cost $200 million to make and only brought in $218 million globally. Now, some people would say that means it made its money back because it brought in more than it cost, right? Well, not when you factor in the marketing and distribution as well as the theater's cut. This is a movie that probably lost around $100 million. And with Gladiator costing over $300 million to make, it's looking like that's going to be another huge flop for the studio. Now, to be fair, though, there are other factors in play that went into why this actually cost so much. One of the biggest things was the strikes that went on this last year that caused a lot of delays in the production and therefore cost them a lot of money. The production difficulties were further compounded by industry-wide strikes starting in July, which had a considerable financial effect, with the shutdowns reportedly costing around $600,000 each week. This last week, we also found out that the upcoming Joker sequel was going to cost $200 million for them to make. Now, as a point of reference, the first Joker movie that came out a couple of years ago cost $60 million for them to produce. So I don't understand why they're spending $200 million. I get it. The first movie was highly successful and brought in over $1 billion globally, but do they really think they can have lightning strike twice with this one? Because that one, I don't think you can replicate the success that was the first one in a sequel movie. Yes, there's people who will go out there to see it, but I don't think there's people who are that interested in seeing a sequel movie where they can justify having this kind of cost. I mean, it's reported right here that they're paying Joaquin Phoenix $20 million for it. They're paying Lady Gaga $12 million to play Harley Quinn, which I think it'd be kind of a cool pairing between the two of them. But is that really going to drive out audiences in the way the studio is hoping for? And I just don't believe that that's going to be the case, because this is what I think the studio is actually thinking, because they look at how much they spent on the first one. So I got the numbers pulled up. According to this, it says $55 million. That article said 60, but let's just go with this. They spent $55 million on the movie and were able to make over $1 billion. It says right here, that was 19.3 times its production budget that they made back. So maybe the studio has it in their mind that, like, okay, if we can make back nearly 20 times our production budget, then if we increase our production budget, we can make 20 times that, right? No, that's not how it works. You should almost, I'm not going to say punish the filmmakers for being successful and cut their budget for the sequel. You should probably give them a little bit more, but I mean, nearly 4 times more. I think that's a little bit astronomical, especially since we've seen this last year that people just aren't coming out to movies like they used to. Because one thing that happened between 2019 when this movie came out and 2020 is we had theaters shut down for months at a time, and people basically got out of the habit of going to the theaters. Not to mention the economy's been hitting everyone really tough. So people just are not spending as much money like they used to. And I know 2024 is kind of a dry year where there's not a whole lot of stuff. So I don't know, maybe people were thinking like, okay, there's a few movies that are going to come out this year that I want to watch, and maybe Joker will be one of them. I'm thinking this movie might actually be okay, but still, I don't think it's going to be nearly as big as what they're hoping for. And then when you kind of circle back to what Gladiator did, the first movie, when it came out in 2000, it brought in around $451 million at the global box office. So if you adjust it for inflation, that's around $750 million or something like that. So if they're spending $300 million, I'm kind of rounding down here, but $300 million on the sequel, that's probably what it needs to make in order to break even. I'm saying like around $750 to $800 million at a minimum. So the sequel needs to do as well as the original movie in order to break even. And this is something I'm just don't imagine people are that excited for, especially since in recent years, Ridley Scott's been kind of a miss lately with a lot of his movies. Yeah, maybe some of them people enjoy them, but they're just not driving out audiences like they used to. So I think Gladiator 2 and Joker 2 have their work cut out ahead of them if they want to try to turn a profit, because the studio spent so much money on producing them that even if the movies turn out to be pretty good and audiences like them, it's still going to be a tough hill to climb in order for them to turn profit. And that's something that the studios could have easily avoided if they gave them a more sensible budget. But for some reason, they didn't do that. And I really don't have anything against either of these movies. I like both the original ones, so I think a sequel could be interesting, but I'm just not confident that it's going to be executed in a proper way, because it's something I've said on this channel before. Once you get more money involved, then you get more studio involvement to it. And that kind of takes away from the creative vision of the director. And as a result, you might got a movie that's built by committee and it just doesn't turn out as well as you're hoped for. Maybe I'm wrong with this one, and maybe these movies both become billion-dollar hits, which is something the studios need. But right now, I just am not confident, especially seeing the current climate of the cinema. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, make sure you click that like button and share the video, because it really helps out the channel. Thank you.